As consumers start to want healthier alternatives, companies are pushed to create more non-toxic options for products for people to buy. But this begs the question, does being non-toxic really matter? What does that even mean? How do you know if something's actually non-toxic versus if people are just greenwashing and it's just a marketing tactic? How do we know that all of this isn't just a company's way to get us to buy more products and be more consumeristic? Growing up Latina, my family had a very strict and set definition of what clean meant. If a product was bubblier, smellier, more colorful, sizzly when it went on, it meant that it was functioning better to get our homes clean. I have this really vivid memory of being a teenager, and before I would clean our bathroom, I would text my best friend and I would say, hey, if I don't text you within an hour, please call my mom so she can come and check on me. I don't know why I didn't just tell my mom directly, but I was a teenager, so friends are more important, whatever. It's developmental psychology 101. I was genuinely so scared of passing out because of the fumes. And even back then, I just intuitively knew that there was no way that these things could be good for us. I remember growing up when my mom would clean, my dad would have to leave the house because it would trigger asthma and he would not be doing well. So even though I would turn on the exhaust, turn on a fan, open the window, I was still scared of the impact that these chemicals were having on me and my body. People don't really realize how big of a deal these chemicals actually are and how much they're impacting our health. When people talk about wanting to get healthier, they're probably going to start a new diet, moving their bodies more, but people don't really think about their body wash or their dish soap and how these things are impacting us, but the truth is that they are. And the reason that they do contribute to our health so much is because they have bioaccumulative effects, meaning that the more we use these things day in and day out in our homes, in our cars, at work, and we're just constantly bombarded with them, they are going to have a bigger and bigger impact over time. So spoiler alert, in this video, we are going to be talking about why non-toxic products do work really well, why you should be using them, and how to steer clear of toxic chemicals that could be impacting your body. The first one that we are going to talk about are phthalates. Phthalates are plasticizers. They're used in a lot of plastic materials, everywhere from vinyl flooring to vinyl shower curtains. They're also used in plastic Tupperwares, which is why you should never, ever, ever be microwaving plastic, because phthalates are one of the chemicals, along with microplastics, that can leach into your food and you can be directly ingesting them. In personal care items, they are typically used in fragrances because since they're plasticizers and they're kind of sticky, they help the fragrance to stick to our clothes and our skin better so that they last longer, which is typically what people want. You don't want a perfume or a cologne or whatever that's gonna wear off within 30 minutes. You want something that's kind of gonna last throughout the day. But that is actually a catch-22, because when things are lasting the entire day, it's because they're sticky, because they're using phthalates in order to make those last longer on our bodies. In personal care items specifically, phthalates are typically labeled just as fragrance or parfum. So if you look on the back of the ingredients list and it says fragrance or parfum, and on the front it does not say phthalate free, then you can likely assume that that product has phthalates, and it's probably not the best to be putting on your body. So there are several health concerns with phthalate exposure, and one of them is that they can be inhaled, they can be ingested, and they can also be absorbed through the skin. A lot of people don't really realize that our skin is a very absorbent organ. So if you think about different medications, there are different hormonal medications that are actually given topically. Estrogen can be given topically, testosterone can be given topically, lidocaine patches, nicotine patches. How do all of those work? Because our skin is absorbing them. And so when you put products on your body that contain phthalates, our body absorbs those as well. But what are the health implications of them? Well, one of them is that phthalates are endocrine disruptors. And what does that mean? Our endocrine system is our system that produces all of our hormones, which are the signaling molecules in our bodies. You've probably heard of hormones like estrogen, testosterone, different things like that. This is not going to be talking about hormones specifically, but phthalates do influence our hormonal system. they mimic estrogen, which will artificially raise our estrogen levels. And over a longer period of time, there is theories that this could be contributing to rising rates of breast cancer, early puberty, issues with fertility, different things like this. There was one interesting study done in the country of Jordan where they took two cohorts. One, they had healthy pregnancies, and one, they had issues with infertility, PCOS, different things like that. And they tested their urinary levels of phthalates. And the group of women that had higher rates of infertility also just so happened to have higher phthalates. Now, obviously, this is not showing causation. They didn't prove that it was the phthalates leading to the infertility, but there was definitely a correlation there. And so why would we take that risk if we know that it's going to be impacting our bodies, even if we don't have that causative proof? It's better to just steer clear of them when we can. Phthalates not only impact our hormones, but they can also influence developing child's brains, and that can potentially lead to things like ADHD. It can also cross the placenta and start affecting kids even in utero, so they can come out of the womb already being impacted by chemicals like phthalates if they're in the mother's body. So you can decrease your risk of phthalate exposure by being really intentional with what products you're buying. If something is heavily scented, heavily fragranced, and it's not fragranced with something like essential oils, it doesn't say phthalate free, you definitely do not want to be purchasing those things. So really heavy hitters are like air fresheners, car air fresheners, scented candles, any type of soap, perfumes, obviously different things like that. You just want to be really intentional with them. The second type of chemical that we're going to talk about is parabens. Companies love using parabens because they're antimicrobial. So because they're antimicrobial, they can extend the shelf life of items. And the longer that an item can stay on the shelf before it goes bad, the higher likelihood of it being purchased and then making money, which makes total sense. However, there is a reason why we don't want parabens in our products. One study done all the way back in 2006, so almost 20 years ago, found that 100% of the participants in this study had parabens coming out through their urine, meaning that they had been exposed to them. So this has been an issue for decades. It's just something that not everybody knows about. Similar to phthalates, parabens are estrogen mimicking, and they disrupt our endocrine system. This is a big deal for men because it can actually decrease sperm and testosterone production, leading to issues with fertility down the road. But it's especially problematic for women because typically women are using more personal care items than men, and so we're just going to be exposed to more overall. But also, these products can get stored in our fat tissue. Women on average have higher concentrations of fat than men, because our bodies need to be able to retain more for childbearing in the future. That's just how we were evolutionarily designed. We also have breast tissue, which is basically exclusively made of adipose tissue. And so all of these chemicals can actually get stored in the body of women more than in the body of men, just because we have more exposure and more ways for those things to be stored in our body. Back in 2004, so a while ago, there was a study done in Britain with 20 women who had breast cancer. They surveyed the biopsies of these breast cancer tissues, and they found parabens in 19 of the 20 samples taken. So again, just like that study done in Jordan, we can't show that it was causative. However, it is correlative, and so that's enough for me to say I do not want those in my body. So how are you able to steer clear of these? So parabens are easy to tell because unlike being masked by like a generic word like fragrance or perfume, like phthalates are, parabens, they're actually listed as like a prefix and then paraben. So it'll say like butyl paraben or isopropyl paraben, different things like that. So if you see that on an ingredient label, go ahead and try not to purchase that product. Another thing is making sure that it says paraben free on the label. People can try to greenwash things saying like all natural or things like that, but all natural actually doesn't mean anything. But if it says paraben free, it actually has to be paraben free. So that is another way to know. And companies who are trying to come out with more non-toxic products, they're going to be really proud of the fact that it's paraben and phthalate free. So most likely that's going to be on the label or on their website somewhere. If you're feeling overwhelmed and you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot get rid of every single cleaning product, every single personal care product, like that is overwhelming, I just want you to take a deep breath with me and realize that our bodies are so freaking resilient. We have so many detoxification pathways. We have our lymphatic system, we have our liver, we have our kidneys. Like, our body was literally designed to heal itself, be regenerative, and overall just help us deal with the daily life things that get thrown at us. However, the issue is that, like we've been talking about, these things have bioaccumulative effects. And so when we're using these things day in and day out, and we're constantly being exposed to them, and we're being exposed to them at rates faster than our bodies can get rid of them, that's when we really run into issues. So just like every small workout makes a difference, changing one product at a time will also move you in the right direction. There's this really, really cool study done called the Hermosa study, and they took high school girls and they gave one half of them their regular products that had like parabens, phthalates, all the regular stuff that people regularly used. And then with the other half, they gave them all non-toxic products. So it was all free of the chemicals that we've been talking about. And they measured their urine for 3 days. And what they were looking for was seeing if they could see signs of these chemicals coming out of their urine and if they could see a difference. And what they found was that after just 3 days, not even a full week, 3 days of using these healthier, more natural, non-toxic products, their rates of these chemicals dropped by 27 to 45%, which is just like so empowering to know that every small change that we make is really adding up, and it's helping our bodies to become more resilient, become healthier, become more vibrant, like they were designed to be. To be honest, I feel like my boyfriend and I kind of were a bit hesitant about switching to more non-toxic products in our home, just because no one wants a dirty home. And there's also this like cultural piece of like, there's almost this like nostalgia. Yeah, that's the word. There's this nostalgia that comes from things smelling a certain way. We just started to learn about the health impacts of it. And thankfully, when I started to learn more about it and I wanted to make the switch, he was very on board, and I'm super thankful for that. Another good tip that I have is make the switch when there's a life change happening. So let's say, for example, you're gonna move. Say, okay, when we move, we're gonna leave all of these personal care and cleaning products in our old house, and then for the new house, we're gonna buy all new things, and so we're just gonna take the plunge. Or start thinking about the things that you wanna buy, and then when you run out of dish soap, get a better dish soap. When you run out of body wash, get a better body wash. When you run out of hair care products, get better hair care products. And just kind of like little by little start making changes like that so that you don't get overwhelmed. One thing I've noticed on the internet is that there aren't a lot of product reviews for healthier alternatives. So that is something that I want to be doing with this channel. But before I do that, just in case you're feeling really inspired to get started on your non-toxic journey, I wanted to give my personal favorites, and these are items that I have been like undeniably obsessed with for years, and I recommend to all of my friends, all my family, and now all of you who will also become my friends and family, I guess. So for most of our household stuff, household cleaning items, we use something called Branch Basics. For my skincare, I use Dime Beauty. For skincare and body care, I use a company called Primally Pure. And then for sunblock, we use Solara. Dish soap, you can use Branch Basics, but we have been using one called Attitude, and we just started that more recently. Like, it works. I'm not like in love with it. I feel like I love the fact that with Branch Basics, it's like one concentrate for everything versus like having to think about what you need to buy and what you're going to run out of, and we have to make this order, and I just feel like the less mental load, the better, to be honest. So that is part of why we love Branch Basics so much, is that like there's not a lot of thought that goes into it, which is really nice. So those are my personal favorites. If you have favorites that you want to share, go ahead and leave them down in the comments so that I can do product reviews on them, and just so that we can spread the love of this non-toxic goodness. If you want to hear the full review of some of the products I just mentioned, go ahead and click this video to watch more.